All right. Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Move, Crush, Count. This is a podcast where we learn how achievers are changing business growth strategies. The Move, Crush, Count podcast specializes in delivering content from experts that are going to help your business grow by interviewing experts on how to discover how you can strike back against a world that's trying to marginalize and commoditize you. So if you really desire to differentiate yourself and your business and you want to learn from experts, then this is the podcast for you. Today's interview is sponsored by J&L Marketing. J&L is a digital and direct marketing agency that delivers results with strategies that help you outsmart the competition so you don't have to outspend them. The title of today's interview is Mental Well-Being Tips that will 3x your revenue, smash limitations, and create your greatest reality. So normally I say, wow, I'm all excited about a topic and this and that. But I feel like because of kind of where we're going to start, not where we're going to end, but where we're going to start in terms of like depression and stuff, excited is the wrong word. I am looking forward to this interview because I feel like it can help a lot of people and I think it's very meaningful. So, once again, I'm your host. I'm Scott Joseph. We're talking with mental well-being expert J.H. Tepley.
Hello there.
Hello, and you're across the ocean, correct?
That's right. I'm in the UK. Yes, London.
Nice. I think you are our first guest on the show from over in London.
All right. Okay.
I don't know if that's a congratulations or a congratulations to me, probably.
Well, blazing the trail.
That's right. So we're going to talk a little bit about your new book, The Unbreakable Entrepreneur. I feel like this is extremely timely right now. And I don't want to, and we'll get into all this, but I just kind of want to set the stage a little bit. I don't want to downplay, but we are about to enter a potential downturn. I hate using the word of recession. I think it's already been categorized that. And I would have to assume in those times, with my uneducated guess on this topic, that it becomes even more important. Is that accurate?
Of course, yes, of course, because, your business is an extension of you. So, what they say, you don't have business problems, you have personal problems reflected in your business. And so if you can't perform at the top of your ability, your business can't either.
Yeah. And so you're a well-known expert on all this. You're going to talk to us about becoming a more powerful and elite version of ourselves, which in the end, if a business leader or business owner can do that, it will propel their business forward, help them be better with their teams, the whole thing. And so I'm excited about that. First, I want to get into a little bit of your background because I want to make sure everybody knows where you're coming from, your experience, your knowledge. And then we'll jump into the specifics that you teach in the book that can help us get through some of this and level up. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, that sounds great. So, all right. Well, a few words about me. For those who haven't come across my work, I'm an international speaker, an author, and a spiritual mentor. I don't particularly like the spiritual kind of word, but this is the only thing that we use when it comes to talking about what lies beyond the physical reality, which of course we're not just our bodies, we're our minds and our souls as well. And my journey started a very long time ago. I've been both researching and teaching for about 20 years now, all over the world. And in my research, I've discovered that there was a huge need for people to really understand themselves on a deeper level so that they can function more efficiently. Because I know that many teachers or gurus make it sound really wishy-washy and out there, but really what it comes down to, imagine reality as a game, like a computer game. And so imagine playing this game, but nobody told you any shortcuts or even any rules. So think about it, how even though you may be doing your best, you would be at a huge disadvantage compared to players who do know the shortcuts, who do know how to use the boost, and who do know how to play the game to win. And so I've noticed that many people suffered from basically the lack of understanding of how to play the game of reality right. And so over this past 20 years of me teaching and speaking, I've realized that it affects especially men in our society, because in the Western world and in the male and female psyche in general, the female psyche is more inclined to follow their intuition, go with the flow. And so they're better off, even, during the hardest time, they're better off thinking, okay, how can I navigate it the best? And then they have that inner voice that guides them. Now, for men, it's more about having this specific action plan and a framework to work within. And so because our society doesn't really provide this kind of framework for men, for guys anymore, I've noticed that that was the biggest need. And so this over the years, that became more and more of my focus. And I've been teaching and studying in many places around the world, as I said, including Japan and Nepal. I still speak fluent Japanese. Yeah, it's a great meditation tool, because writing those characters really mindfully really helps you calm down your mind and focus. So if you, for example, if you're into painting, if you're into drawing, that gives you a similar feel, just writing the same character, and it has a meaning. So let's say you're writing peace or love or focus over and over again, really mindfully, helps you become the samurai of the modern day.
So let me ask you, why is mental well-being such a critical topic? You touched on it just briefly, the differences with men and women, but why is mental well-being? And there's a lot of, like, I'm into sports, so you're seeing all kinds of athletes starting to speak out about the mental well-being. You can go back to the Olympics when our gymnast withdrew for mental health reasons, and so. But why is mental well-being such a critical topic for business owners? Why should they pay attention to this area?
Well, because as we started the show with this quote, we don't have business problems, we have personal problems reflected in our business. And so your business or your performance, your work, your performance as an athlete is an extension of you, who you are as a person. How do you perform on the personal level? And the body, even the muscle work. So, anyone who's in fitness knows about this. Your strength doesn't come from your muscles per se. It comes from your nervous system. And your nervous system is operated by your brain and by your mind. So whatever you have in your mind, in your brain, goes into your nervous system, goes into your muscles, goes into performance. But on the business level, it works this way. If you don't care about your mental health, if your mental health is not in a good place, well, guess what? You're going to feel off. You're going to miss the opportunities that you would otherwise be able to spot. You would not talk to some people in the right way to connect with them and to bring them on board as your clients or your partners. And that is really bad news for your business. That is a very obvious link. So if someone is, let's even just drop psychological terms and talk in real everyday kind of words. If you are sad, you're not the same person as when you're happy and cheerful and excited. So even the change in mood shows you how much it affects your performance. Now, your mental state is something that is more long-lasting, because moods come and go. And everyone can get sad, everyone can get happy. But if you are stuck in a certain pattern, in a certain paradigm for a long time, as you know, what we believe in, it becomes your belief. It becomes your modus operandi, something that becomes the basis of your functioning in the world. And if that basis is faulty, if you're operating from the faulty premises, then everything that you do, or nearly everything that you do, will just not be hitting the mark, or fall off or fall short your true potential. And because our time here in this world is limited, I know nobody likes to think about it, but let's face it, this is true. So thinking that your time here is limited, what I like to see our efforts as, I like to see them as an investment. And so you want to get the greatest returns from your time and effort investment. So if you are investing in the wrong things or investing in the wrong way, obviously your return would be minimized. And what I'm trying to say is that if your basis, which is your mental state, mental health, if it's not where you optimally need it to function as the best version of you, then what you feel, what you think, the choices that you make, and the way that your life, your personal life and your business life unfold, it's just not going to satisfy you as a human being. And because our time here is limited, you don't really want to have a suboptimal life and business experience. Would you agree?
100%. And so what are some of the signs, like if I was struggling, I would imagine there are a lot of business owners, and I'm speaking to you with zero knowledge. So I'm going to question as if, because I want to learn. And so, and
That's
I want
great.
the audience to, and I want the audience to understand, and hopefully we help a lot of people with this show. So if I'm someone in the audience or even myself, how do I know when it's not just a mood? It's not just a passing feeling. What are some of the signs that people need to be consciously aware of?
Right. That is a great question. And I actually, in this book that you mentioned before, I have a whole table that you can do a self-check. And there are many positions, but I would say that the most important thing is time. Because if you're in a bad mood, nobody is in a bad mood forever and ever. So
Right.
you're in a bad mood and something nice happens, you get a call from a friend, you sign a new contract, and you're happy again. But if that mood continues over days or even weeks, if you have trouble sleeping, in that you can't force yourself to go to sleep, then you can't force yourself to go out of bed, that is a big giveaway. And another big giveaway that most people don't actually know about is scrolling through social media. And you think, well, everyone scrolls through social media, right? Like, how can that be a really important sign? Well, here we go. So for a business owner, the reason why the majority of people start their business is because they love it. They're passionate about it. They want to make a difference in the world and in their own life. So because of that, think about it. If you're in love with something or someone, you can't stop thinking about it. You just want to be with that person, or you want to keep doing that thing all the time because you're so passionate, right?
Right.
And so
Yep.
if you suddenly, instead of, imagine that a person you're deeply in love with goes, hey, I would like to spend some time together. Let's go on a date. Let's do something fun. And you're like, nah, I'd rather be scrolling through my Instagram. That's weird, right? That's not right.
Yeah.
So it means that something is happening. So if instead of working on your business and be excited about meeting your clients, serving your clients, talking to a team, if instead you actually start distracting yourself with things that don't matter, that is a big warning sign. It means that something in your mind is actually seriously off, because you can't separate yourself from something that you love. And if something does separate you, do pay attention to it. And also changes in appetite, like wanting to suddenly eat too much, more than you typically do, or losing your appetite altogether, because this is how the body responds to the changes in the mind. So if the mind is depressed, if something is wrong, then the body obviously responds with those changes in appetite and sleep patterns, a sex drive as well. Quite often that disappears. So it basically turns down your passion about things, and you feel that you are sliding into that very dark spiral of bland and joyless experience. And when you catch yourself doing that, so it obviously doesn't start like with a flipping of a switch, but once you feel that, okay, so it's been 2 days, 3 days, it's been a week, it's been like 2 weeks now, and it keeps going the same, that is where you should pay attention to it.
You know, I sit here, you're touching on some things, and I've been posting lately a lot about focus, um, eliminating distractions. And I've really consciously tried to, because listen, on social media, everybody is showing their best life, usually, right? Everyone looks like they have no demons, they're battling nothing, everything's just hunky dory and great. But I can tell you, me personally, I go through, ruts that are more than a mood. You can tell by me, an easy tell sign, you brought up food. My weight fluctuates, not because I get lazy with what I'm doing, but I can tell you, and I guess what I'm going to ask, chicken or egg thing. Which comes first? Is the diet contributing to the rut, or does the rut contribute to the diet?
Right. They feed into each other, but I would say the mood comes first. Because
Okay.
if you, the mood is more instant. You feel something, it's reflected in your body straight away. Whereas for food, it does take some time, depending on the person, to affect you in a certain way that is noticeable for a long period of time. So obviously, the mood triggers some issues and some problems, some tensions, and then you feel like eating something, and then that unhealthy food contributes to the process and makes it worse. So then they become sort of, two parts of the same process. But originally, think about it. If you're in a really, really good place, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, if you're really happy, really fulfilled, would you start eating junk all of a sudden?
Right. No, you're 100% right. And then you brought up the social media and the scrolling. Gosh, talk about distractions. It is very easy if you're not in the right spot and you don't if you're not. So hopefully people watch this all of a sudden when they start doing this, because I would imagine there is a high percentage of people that do this. They just get caught up in scrolling, looking through the reels, doing whatever they can. But some of them are entertaining as heck. But it is a way to distract you from the things that you really need to do, the things that will have that will have the greatest impact on propelling, whether it's your personal life or your professional life forward, right? And so one thing, because part of my job is to be on social media a lot, so it's a challenge for me, because I have to consciously tell myself, Scott, scrolling through this isn't moving you forward. This isn't getting you to your goal. It's not going to help you. And so hopefully people that watch this, they recognize that, because to your point, whether it's food, whether it's all that stuff, it never fulfills you. You're doing it for some type of temporary fulfillment that you think it will give you.
Yes.
But in the end, it never fulfills you. That's why you keep doing it, because it's never enough, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So Sandy Cerami brought up, he's a frequent guest, and he talks about hot yoga a lot. What are your recommendations on that? First off, I got to tell you, I know Sandy, and the visual of him doing hot yoga is not something that I need in my head at 9:30 a.m. But go on.
All right. Yeah, I think yoga and meditation are great tools to keep yourself on track. And mind you, with the latest heat wave, every yoga that we did in London was a hot yoga. And I went to a Krav Maga class last week, and that was a hot Krav Maga class, because we don't have air conditioning in most places here in the UK. So that was, I suppose, very beneficial for everyone. But yes, absolutely. Now, with the temperature, you have to listen to your body, though, because this is something that not many people understand. Many people think, okay, every guru out there says that it's good for me, so I should push myself and do it. But if your body says no, if your body says, right, I don't like hot yoga, it's not right for me, listen to that first. So don't listen to the gurus, listen to what your innate intelligence tells you. And by all means, experiment, explore, but don't just go blindly with what people are saying that is beneficial.
All right. So besides business owners, I mean, to me, I know that you're in terms of your business, your target audience is business owners, but who else should be paying attention to this? To me, I feel like almost everybody. I mean, I don't.
Well, of
This
course,
this
of
isn't.
course.
Yeah, this isn't just restricted to either men or to business owners. I would assume. I think this show can appeal to just about anybody. But let's switch gears a little bit now. Let's get into the book, The Unbreakable Entrepreneur. More specifically, can you tell us what you mean when you say you can become a more powerful and elite version of ourselves, and be more specific on what you've seen firsthand in terms of how it propels businesses forward or takes them to the higher level?
Of course. So this book is all about helping you map out your journey to the best version of you so that you can start, even though you may not have a mentor or anyone else to learn from. This gives you the tools that you can use to begin your journey right now. And so the reason why I say become a more elite version of you is because in our lifetime, this is one of our real true soul goals. We obviously have social goals, like have a family or buy a new car, start a new business, buy more houses, whatever it may be. But it's really just a reflection. It's the second grade priorities if we are talking about our true inner core. Because as I briefly mentioned before, it's not really just the body that lives this life. We're not just this physical machine of meat and bones. We're so much more. We're also our minds and our soul and that energy that allows us to be alive. And now, because the majority of people up until now prioritized that one part of them, which is the physical part, that means that they don't really lived as their full selves. And the way I usually explain it to people is that imagine that you have perfectly healthy legs and perfectly healthy arms, but for whatever reason you decide that, right, you're not using the left part or the right part of your body. That's it. You just function as a half of yourself. Now, imagine in a real life scenario, how much more difficult that would make it for you to function, and how much it would impede the quality of your life if you decided to do so. And people would be like, dude, why are you doing this? This is so weird. Like, walk on both legs, use both arms. It's going to be so much easier. And she would be like, I'm not really sure. Some people say that it's woo-woo to do so. I'm like, geez, so being weird, right? And what I want help guys to do, I want to help them become their full selves. And right now you notice, or perhaps you have noticed, that we are evolving as a species because we've entered a new era of human evolution. Some describe it as the era of Aquarius, but the name doesn't matter. What matters is that the quality of time that we live in has changed. And we as living beings exist in time, like fish exist in water. So we live and breathe time. And notice that as soon as we've entered this new era, loads of things started changing, like massively. The idea of how to run your business, the idea of how to express yourself as a human being, but also more and more people started to understand that there is more to life than just this physical reality, and that we should learn to incorporate this spiritual, this divine energy part of us as well, to live as fully, whole, complete human beings. And so in my book, I help guys to understand how to do this, how to connect the two, and how to evolve into this more elite whole version of you. Because what happens is once you become your both spiritual and your physical self, once you integrate the two, it has a similar effect on your life and your business as though you were only using one side of your body and you suddenly started using both. It changes everything. It creates such a massive shift in your reality. And one last reason why I wrote this book is because I've realized that the majority of schools don't teach spirituality in the way that would benefit men the most. It really is still focused on the previous era mentality. And for those who don't understand or they don't know about the current era and the previous era, so the previous era had a huge emphasis on the feminine side. So it's more about bending to what is, going with the flow, accepting things, fitting in. So this kind of attitudes, and looking back, you can notice that society as a whole and people on the individual level were following this paradigm. Do what I'm told. And it's still actually a very popular saying in the UK, oh, I just do what I'm told. No, the new era is very, very different. The new era brings out your personal creative spark. And so the true ideal of the new era masculinity, which changes, by the way, with every era. So before that, there was a knight on a white horse, someone who slayed dragons and rescued princesses. And right now, people are still trying to role play that. They're still trying to follow that old way of masculinity, which doesn't bring them fulfillment, actually, because I see them being still unhappy and in pain after those courses, because what their soul longs for is a full, powerful expression of selves. And the new expression of masculinity these days is being a ruler of your reality, being a creator of your reality, a king in your own world, where you decide how you experience this world. And the only way that you can do that is by integrating your spiritual aspect. So you become, say, a master manifester. And this is why, as soon as the new era has begun, you have loads of manifestation secrets, this secret, the famous book and the film that everyone who is into self-development is raving about. But you see what I mean? Those things nobody spoke about before, nobody was interested before. But as soon as this new energy of time came in, and it's forcing us to adjust and adopt. And I know it creates a lot of resistance in a lot of people. So this is one of the reasons why, as a society, we became so stressed and depressed, because depression, pain, anger are all side effects of resistance. So that inner resistance to change and also not knowing what to do is what causing a lot of havoc in a lot of people's lives. And so I wanted to help with my experience and with my knowledge over the years to help guys who want to get there faster and who want to win in these new times. I just want to show them the roadmap of how to achieve that.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the roadmap. So I've seen you talk a little bit before about 5 hidden forces that kind of hold people back from becoming who they're called to be, right? So could you talk to us about those 5 things? And then as you're doing that, how do we fix those 5 things? So here's what they are. Here's what's holding you back. But how do we adjust? How do we fix that?
Sure. Okay. So for those of you who are listening to us right now, yes, there are different ways and different things that that are holding us back mentally. But one thing that I would like to remember from this show, if there is one thing that you are taking out with you after listening to this, I would say this is the conflict within your own mind. This is number one thing that is holding you back, because the majority of people don't really question how their mind works. And so our mind has different layers. And the easiest way to understand that is to imagine there is a level of us, the physical level, that is our body. But there is also a level, and our body has its innate intelligence that is very, very basic. But if you scratch yourself, your body will know to fix that and to heal itself, and you don't need to tell it to do anything. It knows what to do. So that's the intelligence of the body. But there are also higher levels of intelligence in us, and one of them is what we call the subconscious mind, or the soul. And the subconscious mind is a very complex mind level compared to the soul, to the body level. Now, this subconscious level actually has its priorities, its fears, its likes and dislikes, and the ideas of what it wants to achieve in life. And I'm actually going to find you a nice table in the book to illustrate what I'm talking about. So, where is it? So these 4 levels, there we go. I don't know if you can see, hopefully you can. Okay.
Kind of. So, I can see the diagram. I can't read the words.
Yeah. So,
but that could be because of my age.
Or the screen resolution.
Yeah.
Okay. No. So the 4 levels of the mind, we are not concerned with the physical, and we're not concerned with the spiritual mind right now, but we are concerned with the 2 levels that everyone, even people who are not into psychology, everyone knows about. And this is our ego, our conscious level, our story of self, and our subconscious. And so, as I said, the subconscious has its own ideas of what it wants to achieve in life, its priorities, its drive, its fears, and its needs. And so does the ego. And the problem is that in the majority of people, these 2 are not aligned. And this is why, if your mind is not aligned, chances are you are living beneath your potential. Chances are you are not quite living the life that you deserve and you can live, like your actual divine right to have an amazing life. But if your mind doesn't agree with what direction to go to, it's like you're sitting in a cart with 2 horses, and each of the horses is trying to go its own way, and you're not going anywhere because you're stuck because they're not agreeing. So there needs to be one particular focus on one direction where you apply your efforts, both consciously and subconsciously, and not integrating these 2 levels of the mind, which can be done through meditation, by the way. It's not some like super difficult out there technique. It's something that anyone can do. It's just the majority of people simply don't know why and how they should do it. And so these 2 levels of the mind is what creates your reality, because apart from the energy and manifestation level that I spoke about, we also create our reality, our everyday life, by the way we act, the choices that we make, and the way we feel about ourselves. And so these things originate in our mind. Your choices come from your mind. The way you feel about yourself comes from your mind. Nobody gives you that to you. It's something that you create yourself. Now, that conflict between the conscious and the subconscious mind, that internal war, if the differences are too big, so for example, the soul goes, oh, I want to do this thing, and the ego says, no, I want to do that thing, can start depression and can really start making that person spiral down emotionally and mentally. I'll give a quick example. So last week, I was talking to someone who came to me wanting to be a student, and I said, okay, he was a guy in our entrepreneurial coaching space. And I said, okay, so what's your goal? He said, well, I want to have greater revenue per month. And then I said, okay, well, let's find out what's stopping you from getting there. And so we went through the process, and what we've uncovered, that his soul absolutely violently disagreed with him being a coach.
So how did you discover that? Like, because I think there's a lot of people, and I've gone through it, right? Where you've done something and maybe you were very successful at something for a very long period of time, and it's become a little mundane to you, right? Some of the things that used to excite you no longer do. You're no longer as passionate as you once were. And so there's something new for you. There's another level that you're trying to get to. So I think there's so many people that struggle with finding their true purpose or their what they're really passionate about and what they're competent at. I think it's hard to have any type of sustained effort. You can be passionate about something, but if you're not good at it, or if you don't become good at it,
you do if you're passionate enough.
Correct, because you want to learn, you want to do the practicing, and you want the repetition, and you don't give up on that. So, how do you find that? Like, so what made? And let's take this specific example you just gave.
Sure.
Here's a person, a business person that wants to achieve a certain amount of revenue doing coaching, what he thought he should be doing, coaching.
Yes.
And you discover this isn't what he wants. So how do you do that?
I have a special meditation technique that allows you to uncover what your soul truly wants. So you silence the ego and you allow your soul to speak. And I don't actually tell them beforehand so that the results are clear. So there is no placebo effect and there is no expectation. And so once I took him through this meditation, what we've discovered that he didn't want to be a coach, actually. He wanted to create music. And I said to him after the meditation, after the technique, he was nearly in tears. He's like, it moved me so much. I just realized that I've been wasting my time. And I said, okay, so tell me, why did you decide to be a coach? And he said, well, it's because I believe that being a music creator, an artist, a musician would never make you any money. And I wanted to travel the world and work from beaches and have expensive cars. And so I looked at this entrepreneurial community and they were all doing that or seemed to be doing that. And so I decided to do that because they told me that was the goal and that was the vehicle to realize my dream. And it's not just him. I met so many people in this space who are in the exact same position. And I said, look, that is a limiting belief. Think of all the people out there who are really rich and wildly famous creating music. So that is just your own limiting belief that you imposed on yourself to stop you from doing what you love and instead pushing into something you're not truly passionate about. And no wonder that you procrastinate.
So what happens for someone like that? Let's just say, I mean, there are a lot of people that would like to be in music that aren't good. So let's just say I would be one of them. I would love to be in music. All right. But I couldn't create it. I can't play the instruments. So what happens if someone, that's what they want, that's what they're passionate about? I have an idea of where I would go as a business person with this, but let's say they're horrible. They suck at it and they end up making no money. So then what happens then?
It means that it's not their true path. So this is how it works. Imagine a circle with an orange dot somewhere within that circle, and then with a blue dot right in the middle. And so the blue dot position represents your ultimate personal expression as a person. And the closer you are, which you are your orange dot, wherever it is, and the closer you get to that blue dot position, the more power, personal power, influence, money, and all good things start to flow into your life naturally. So you don't have to struggle for it. Opportunities just open. And you get to experience, or you get to live in what people describe as a state of flow. And they chase it. They try to hack it. It's like hacking the state of flow. But really, you don't need to hack it. It's your normal, natural state. It's just something that you've lost. But you regain it as soon as you start aligning with your truth. So imagine it this way. Imagine that the universe is like an infinite labyrinth or an infinite amount of choices. And those choices are doors with locks on them, like old-fashioned locks, okay? And each person born in this world is a key of a particular shape to unlock a specific door somewhere out there. And what most people do is that they try to force themselves into other people's realities and other people's locks. So they're trying to unlock a door that was not meant for them. And this is why they're bad at it. And they never succeed with it. They struggle and struggle, but nothing ever comes from it. Because as soon as you align with the true expression of self, you are actually supported by the universe. This is another concept that most people don't understand, because we've been too brainwashed to think that we have to hustle, and struggle to get somewhere. But really, the universe is really, the universe works in a way that follows the most harmonious path. You can call it the path of the least resistance, but in a good way. And the best way to learn about energy, like you don't need to be any super spiritual or anything. If you want to know how energy works, observe a stream. So if a stream runs through some terrain, through some land, and you watch what it does, it will find the best places, the most convenient, the easiest places to run, right? It wouldn't go up. It wouldn't go into awkward places. It would actually flow in the best possible way. So the energy in the universe always tries to flow in the best possible way to support your evolution. And the only thing that the universe actually wants from you, because we are not just separate human beings, we are in that quantum soup. We're sharing this reality with all other people and all other realities. So we're separate, but together in a way. And so the universe is trying to support us to be in the best possible place. But because of that conflict in the mind that I spoke about earlier, the conscious and the subconscious mind that start this internal war and go, right, I'm not going to go with the flow of the universe. I'm going to go somewhere else, and I'm going to actually flow against or swim against the current. And this is where we experience all this struggle and all this pain, because quite often people who go into things, say even music, there are loads of people who never succeed. And this is the same as with coaching, because they go there thinking that they would be successful for, say, the wrong reasons. They just want their ego to be happy about it. It's not because their essence is music. Is because they see it as the easiest avenue. Say they saw some famous singer when they were younger, and that impressed them so much that they wanted to be like that person. But the truth is, we achieve our greatest success by being our greatest selves. So the more you align with that blue dot position, with your true flow, with your true expression, regardless of what everyone else is doing and what is popular, what is famous, what is considered to be an easy win, if you disregard that and listen to your soul instead, your soul will actually navigate you to where you should be. And you know, can they say in clickbait articles, the results may surprise you. And it's very true, because your ego, your conscious mind, if it doesn't talk to your subconscious mind and it absorbs all those ideas, oh, I need to be a famous celebrity, I need to be a famous coach, an entrepreneur, you know, whoever else. And it doesn't understand that within you, you have a true treasure, and that those people who became really rich and famous, they didn't become rich and famous copying someone else. They got there because they expressed their truth. Now, if you express your truth, guess what? You are going to get there as well, but in your own way. And this is so super important in this new era, because remember, as a man, you should be a king and a ruler of your reality. So you should create a reality that nourishes your soul, not just satisfies your ego, because that's short-lived. Just as the example that you gave earlier, you know, you were doing something for a while, it burned out and it's not exciting anymore. If you follow your soul path, your subconscious, your true self, true desires, you align with that blue dot, you will then have this source of inspiration and excitement and passion that never dries out. Because the only thing that the universe wants from you is for you to grow as a person. That's number one thing. And there is a secret. The universe works like your target audience. You know, for an entrepreneur, what you need to do to succeed in business, you give your audience, your clients, what they want, right? And they sustain your business. Now, if you give the universe what it wants, you can get anything you want. This is how it works.
I love, and as you're saying all this, my mind immediately goes to an analogy. Let's just take social media for a second, right? How many people out there, if they're an entrepreneur, sit there and say, all right, maybe I'm a little uncomfortable doing all this social stuff, getting on videos, doing whatever, but I have to do it. I've got to bust through that comfort zone and expand it. And they start doing it. And I think the repetition of that wears on people, especially if they don't see results right away. And let's face it, quite honestly, when you're first starting off doing it, it's not easy to just be yourself because you're so worried about the perception of everyone else. You're trying to portray an image or a brand, and you're not just being you, right? You're not being your authentic self. Is it safe to say that when you're truly doing something that you're meant to do and you're being authentic in the way you communicate it, that it's easy to recognize, not just because you're happier and you're in a better mood, but because things just start coming to you? Yes. In other words, you're not like, when you're first starting off, you're just so worried about, oh, how many likes can I get? How many people watched this? How many did that? And you're pushing and pushing and pushing. And then all of a sudden, when you're able to, when these things align, like you're talking about, things start just happening for you, opportunities. And then the hard part becomes trying to stay focused and decide what to turn down and reject, and what to put your attention to, right? Or your energy.
Absolutely. Very well said. Yes, it's so true, because if you give the universe what it wants, which is your evolution, you're growing into a greater version of yourself, you're becoming more authentic, the universe goes, yay, okay, send this guy everything he needs. Just let him keep going, because this is how it works. By our growth, we contribute to the well-being to the universe, so to speak. So the well-being of the universe is partially due to our well-being, and it wants us to prosper. It wants us to succeed. And the reason why we don't is when we ourselves sabotage our path and our progress by trying to copy someone else. And most people don't really understand what living their purpose means. And they think, oh yeah, well, have you seen this Ikigai chart? Like the Venn diagram, how to find out your purpose. So you find what you like doing. All right. Yeah, I'll describe it to you. So this is what most people believe their purpose is. It's a diagram with circles, and one says, find what you like doing, find what you're good at, find what other people would pay you for, and find what the world needs. And then in the intersection of all those circles, you have purpose.
Correct. No, I've heard and seen that. Yes. I wasn't understanding what you were saying. Isn't the easiest way, I guess, to make, is it as simplistic as saying, if I want to teach people and I want to help people, help them win whatever, isn't your audience, and aren't you being your authentic self if you're actually helping the people that you used to be? In other words,
yes.
I mean, to me, that just seems like an easy path. Like, wow, I've used to be here. I'm here. This is how I did it. And I can, if teaching it, I'm not saying not everybody wants to teach and coach and all that, but if that was your path, right? because a lot of people also struggle with what should they teach? What should they coach? You clearly have a passion here, and you describe why you're so passionate about it. So that aligns well with you. But if someone else finds that align, I mean, I guess what I'm going to ask is, you seem very good at what you do. And so my question is, where were you prior to this?
Oh, this question. I've been okay. So I have to tell the truth, although I don't like talking about this, but unless I answer this honestly, it wouldn't make any sense. So I'm one of those people who remember their past incarnations. And so in this lifetime, I wasn't really a child or a teenager the way that most people would be, because I remember me doing this work in many lifetimes prior. And I remember one vivid memory from this lifetime. I was maybe about five or six. And I was looking at the kids around me thinking, rats, it's going to take at least another 20 years until I can talk to them and they will understand. And I remember looking around thinking, wow, 20 years is a very long time. So yes, so for me, it's slightly different. This is why I can't really teach people who were in the same place that I was. I mean, probably someone out there listening to me said, yeah, that was my experience as well. And if so, do reach out by all means. I would love to talk to you. But there are not many people out there, although there are some. Some people remember their past lives, but it's not a very huge number, I would say. So my challenge was actually to try and turn things down in a way, because I understood things that, you understand certain things as you go through life. It just age that does it to you. But because I looked a lot younger, and because people I connected to, say, on the same age, would not be able to yet grasp it because it was too early for them. They haven't yet experienced certain things that they needed in order to understand certain things. So that was my journey, which again is not applicable for my target audience. The only thing that would be applicable in a way is that the majority of my lifetimes, I'm an originally a male soul. So souls, just like bodies, have their own polarities. So there are male and female souls. But as we go through many lifetimes, we switch. So we get to experience both sides, but not in the equal measure. Well, luckily for me, because I resonate best with my natural polarity. And so in this lifetime, obviously, this is what I look. But in the majority of my lifetimes, where my body matched my actual soul polarity, I learned a lot of things that I can now share with the guys, especially younger guys, because they just physically did not have enough time to experience and learn it for themselves. So this is something that I think is a great gift that I can share with others. And so for this reason, I would say, if you don't know what to teach, don't teach.
Yeah, good point. That's a very good. It's very hard to be authentic if you don't have that answer. Let me ask you this question.
Just quickly, ask your soul. Just ask your soul. Sit quietly with yourself and imagine a scenario where absolutely everything in your life is the way you want. Like literally everything. Every single dream of yours has come true. All of it. Now, imagine yourself being immersed in that reality, and you have enough money to last you for a lifetime. You have the best relationship ever. You have the best house ever. Now, if that all was your reality, what would be your next move? What would you do now as you've got everything? And your soul will answer. So silence your ego, allow yourself to really enjoy that reality, allow yourself to experience it as though it were real, happening right now, and ask yourself, okay, so now as I've got this all, what do I really want to do to make my life worth living?
Yeah.
And wait for the answer.
That's a great visual and then question to ask on that. I would bet there is a lot of people that would struggle with the answer right away.
Give yourself some time. Don't rush it. Sit again and again. If your ego is very strong and it used to bully your subconscious, which it usually does, it loves to bully whatever is inside you, because it's only a quiet little voice, and the ego goes, "Oh, I'm the master here." So really immerse yourself in that reality of your dreams. Imagine that every single thing, like every stupid thing. Imagine if you say collect something, so you've got everything you ever wanted. And then what's next? What do you do to really fulfill yourself as a human being, to leave a legacy, to create something memorable and important in this world as you? Not anyone else. You're not copying anyone. You're not striving to fit the mold. Remember, the new era is not about fitting the mold. It's not about following the herd. It's about going your own way, creating your own way, and creating your own reality. And from there, you can 3x, 5x, 10x your business. Because if you are doing what you're meant to do, remember, the universe has your back. It's like setting your sail on a boat, right? If you set it in the direction of the wind, guess what? You are propelled forward like you can't even imagine. But if you're trying to paddle upstream with no wind in your sails, it's a struggle, it's super slow, it's depressing, it's frustrating. You start thinking, oh, what's wrong with me? What have I done to deserve all this? But really, all you need to do is to understand yourself better. Once you understand yourself better, and I do recommend you get a mentor for this, because it's hard to be fully transparent and fully objective with yourself. So discover who you actually are as a person, like deep down, before society told you who you should be. And once you discover who you are, it becomes super simple, because this is what I was trying to explain earlier with this Venn diagram. Your purpose is not what you do. Your purpose is who you are.
So I love what we're talking about here. I think, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know that, I think it's men that are business owners, men, entrepreneurs that are 40 to 50 years old. There's a decent percentage that take their own life. I guess depression kicks in. And so I don't have those actual things.
It's double the number of female suicides, unfortunately.
Wow. We're up on an hour, but I've got a lot more questions. Do you have time? I want to be respectful of your time.
Yes, sure.
All right,
absolutely.
Good. All right. So if someone starts applying what you're teaching in your book, and you've got multiple books, throw out a few of them, because I
do. Let me just show you something.
Nice. This has truly got to be a passion for you. Yes, love it. So if
my students love it, so it keeps me going.
If people start applying this stuff, how long does it typically take for them to start seeing, or even feeling, probably more important, feeling results?
All right. So they will feel the results straight away after the first session. Straight away, and very powerful. And some people get really moved to tears because they realize just how much things they imposed on themselves unnecessarily, and how they can live as free and powerful human beings. And for a reality to catch up, it depends on the person and depends on their energy level. It takes a couple of weeks. And for the full transformation to occur, it takes half a year to a year. So looking back, you then see you were a completely different person. And many of my students said, I wouldn't even talk to the previous version of me because we wouldn't have anything to talk about.
That's awesome. Where do you see business owners making a lot of mistakes, missing the boat when it comes to mental well-being? And if they are, how do you, whether they were on the right path got off or never got on the right path to begin with yet. How do you fix that course?
I love this question. So, two main things. One, don't follow the current way spirituality is being told, because it's mainly geared towards women and it's mainly based on the blueprints of the old era. They are not going to serve you anymore. So all this shamanism, all those plant medicines, and yes, I know some people will be very angry. It's like, yeah, but I've got so much. You've damaged yourself, and you would get a lot more if you actually did it the way that is congruent with your essence. Trust me. Like I'm a researcher myself, so I never tell people like, oh, you just take my word for it. I say, go and experiment for yourself, ask questions, find out for yourself. So I'm talking from my experience, my research, how I saved many people's lives who were damaged by those practices, for example. So I'm talking from experience. If your experience is different, go get more experience, go get more data to compare, and then draw your own conclusions. So the things that are not congruent with your masculine core, the things that tell you to accept what is, surrender to what is, go with the flow, and just basically embrace that you can't do anything because it's all one, so everyone else influences you in some way, which is true, but at the same time, you are an independent, sovereign being. You are an expression of that divine force that created the universe. So do stand for yourself, do create your own reality on your terms, and stay away from shamanism and plant medicines and things like that, because
So, all right. So you're gonna have to explain what those are.
okay, those things are yeah, sure. It's just something that young entrepreneurs know a lot about, because many of them do experiment with that. These are things like
Are you
ayahuasca.
implying I'm not a young entrepreneur? Are you saying I'm an older one?
I'm implying that you are on the right path, so you don't mix with the wrong crowd.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, well, mind you, I'm in my 40s myself, so it's it's been a long journey. So the actual substances that I spoke about are things like ayahuasca, iboga, kambo, all those chemicals that alter your consciousness. So you drink them or you inject them, and it brings about what is called an ego death, where your concept of yourself, your ego, your self story basically crumbles, and you get exposed to what lies beneath. And for the majority of people, it's a very traumatic experience because they're not ready for it. And B, they can't benefit from it fully because, again, they're not ready for it. They didn't get any proper training. So they don't know how to create from that place. So instead, they just end up with this invisible mental damage, which may be invisible on the outside, but it's really visible in the way they perform, in the way they structure their lives. And unfortunately, and this is something I have to mention, and again, most people don't talk about it. If something like that happens to you, you become a lot more susceptible to mental manipulation, and you become a lot more susceptible to influence of other people. And so those copycat tendencies and going with the crowd tendencies intensify, but without you realizing. So you don't know this is happening. It's like you are being run, your life, your mind is being run by someone else, but you don't know. And many people would be like, no, I'm the master of my life. And I'm like, really? Really? And there is a really neat and quick way of checking if you are actually running life or someone else does it for you. Look around at your life as it currently are and answer this question. Are you really happy and fulfilled in your current reality? does this sustain you on not just the physical, but the spiritual level as well? Does it nourish your soul? Do you actually feel serene and joyful living your life? And if not, it means that you may be running someone else's programs in there.
So when you're talking about copycatting and gosh, when you're on social media and there are so many people out there and it is so transparent when they're doing that.
Yes.
And it's almost uncomfortable to watch as the other person,
Yes.
and
It's
so
called cringe.
yeah. And so I don't, but you know what? I went through that. I don't want to say I'm completely out of it. I think, if I'm honest with myself, right, I think that I'm definitely influenced by some people that I follow and things such as that. And I will say here in the last few months, this living your own reality, I've become very comfortable doing things now that were very uncomfortable to me. And here's where I'm going with this. When I started doing less of what I used to do and started moving into new things, I felt tremendous guilt not doing those things anymore. But I didn't want to do them. They were mundane to me. They were monotonous. It got to the point I couldn't stand doing them. Right. And there was this period of like guilt for me where I'm like, but I got to do this. Am I letting people do? And finally I just gave that up. And I started just being like, and I noticed that once I gave that, the feeling up and I just started doing what I actually wanted to do a little bit. I'm not all the way there, but I realized all the things that I worried about, and I always take pride in not worrying, but here I was, I guess, subconsciously worrying. No, it didn't. Nothing skipped a beat. In fact, it improved. So, it's like I wasted 6 months, a year, or probably years, battling through this, trying to move away from what I was to where I really want to be. Right. And I'm not all the way there. I don't know if we ever get all the way there, but
it's a never-ending journey. That's the fun of it.
Yeah. So you talk a lot about, living a life of purpose and personal power. What are some myths or misconceptions that are out there about what the heck that means? Set the record straight for us.
Okay. So when we're talking about personal power, I would say the main misconception comes from the fact that we only have one word for two things that are entirely different. And this is power to and power over. So I'm going to talk about the power over first, because this is what most people understand as power when they hear that word. And some people get upset about it because like, oh, power is evil. No, the power over is the power that we see in our everyday reality. So it's social power over resources, money, influence, connections. That's power over. So you influence someone in a certain way. But what we really crave as human beings is the power to. Now, power to is the internal state of feeling empowered to do certain things, to accomplish certain things, to live the life on your terms, to express yourself in the way that is congruent with your true expression. And the reason why we want that is because when you think about it, according to different philosophies and schools and myth, we've been created by a god or gods or some universal power. And if we are the creation of a power that created worlds, think about it. Children always take after their parents. So if we come from something that powerful, it's normal that our natural instinct is to connect with that dormant power inside us and to show up ourselves as creators. And most people have lost their connection with that power too. So that access is blocked. They don't even know it's there. And it makes them suffer. It pains them. It makes them feel like something is missing. It makes them feel like they're trapped and suffocating in their lives. So if you feel in your life that, you've got the money that you wanted, the lifestyle that you wanted, and you just feel trapped, you feel like, okay, what else? I've achieved. There is nothing more.
Thank you. I think that is a very, because, we talked about this very early on in the show, right? And that was, we look for outside things to fulfill us when that's not what fulfills us. And so I think there's a lot of people that reach a level of success, and then they get there and they're like, wow, I thought it would be different than this. And so that's what they say, money doesn't make you happy, which is a very simplistic thing, but that's kind of the meaning behind that, isn't it? I mean,
yes, because the power over never makes you happy, because if it comes as not as a natural expression of what you're doing in this life. So, for example, you're serving a purpose, you're influencing people massively, so you have this positive impact, and obviously with that comes social power. So that's a natural progression of things. But if you try to compensate with power over for the lack of your internal power too, it's never going to satisfy you. You're always going to feel empty because your true desire is not satisfied. And the substitute, the ego would love the substitute, and it buys all the bling. The ego loves the bling. So anything that is shiny in society, it will go right after it. But for the soul, for your true self is not impressed by any of that. Your true self is only interested in how you can develop yourself to become a more powerful human being, because it wants to get home to what it is, to that blue dot position, to that ultimate expression of self. Because it's the same like with anything in nature. Think of a seed or a little seedling, and you plant it. What does it want to do? It wants to become a tree. And the more it's allowed to become the tree that it's meant to become, the more fulfilled and happy it is as that plant, right? That form of life. And if, let's say, it tries to grow as an oak, and you're like, no, I prefer birch trees or palm trees, and I'll try to mutilate it and make it resemble a palm tree. And it's going to be a very miserable and ugly and unhappy palm tree, because it's not meant to. So our soul, just like anything in nature, strives to achieve that internal perfection in terms of expression in the best possible way. And so if you instead divert your full attention from the power over and channel it into developing your internal power over how you feel, over your mind, over your body, over your reality that you're creating in every moment. Because you're creating your reality whether you're aware of it or not. It's always there. It's your power. You can't take it away. But if you're creating your reality in the way that it feels unfulfilling, not nourishing, not sustaining your personal evolutionary goals, that it means that you need to pay a bit more attention to that. So I would say that's the biggest misconception when it comes to the idea of power, because people think, oh, it's power equals politicians. No, unfortunately, we don't yet have a word to describe that we have this innate divine power that flows through us, the source that our essence needs to express, because this is the way we've been designed, by the way. We've been designed to channel that power from the universe, that creative power, into this reality and transform it and transform ourselves. So if you're not doing that, your soul will be resentful, and because it knows that this is your purpose. And how you achieve it, it doesn't actually matter, as long as the vehicle of your fulfillment is aligned with that ultimate expression of self. So let's say your destination is to be the greatest expression of self you can possibly be. And there are different trains and planes and cars going in that direction. And this is what people see as their businesses. Like, oh, but I thought my purpose was to travel by car, or I thought my purpose was to travel by train. What do I do? It's like, okay, your purpose is to achieve your greatest expression as a human being and share your gift with the world. What particular vehicle you take to achieve that is up to you. It's down to, just like in your physical reality, it's down to what's accessible, what's affordable, and what's the easiest option for you right now. So you may start off traveling by train, then jump into a car, then jump onto a plane, but it doesn't mean that your purpose is changing. Your purpose is the same, because you will notice that although you're using those different modes of transport, you're still following the same route. It's like there is an overarching theme to everything you do that unites all your efforts together. So this is why don't think that your business or your current occupation is your purpose. Your purpose is to become this great being that shares its light or his light with the world and transforms reality, and becoming this real life superhero. This is what we really need to become. And once you become that someone who actually wields reality, I know it sounds like something from a science fiction movie, but the reason why science fiction movies resonate with us so much is because we can sense the truth behind them. For no other reason, we feel like there is like a glass wall separating us from what we feel is true, and it resonates so much. And I don't think there is a kid who never ever dreamt about being a superhero ever.
We all want to be Captain America or Iron Man. So
Exactly,
that's
exactly, or a Jedi or someone like that. And this is because this is who we really are. We've just forgotten. And the closest we can get to that in real life, the happier we become. It's as easy as that. Well, as simple, not necessarily easy, but it's straightforward enough. So the closer you become to your true self, the more you become of a real life superhero, the happier, the more fulfilled, more serene, more joyful you become. And what you will notice that, just as you said before, Scott, everything starts falling into place. The universe just pans out in the optimal way for you. And this is why I talk about creating your optimal reality, not the reality of your dreams, because quite often that would be your ego reality and it's not going to make you happy. Creating your optimal reality means that it's going to nourish you as a person, elevate you as a person, and become that man and the leader that this world needs.
I have to say, so I want to thank you for an incredible interview. You know what I like most about this, besides your accent, all right? I like talking to people that challenge my think. And you challenge, I love that, because
me too. Same here.
Yeah, that's where you grow. That's where man, I just really, I'm really hopeful, and I believe that this interview can help a lot of people, and I think you've done an incredible job. We'll probably chop it in on the podcast. We'll probably have to chop it in half to 2 different episodes, but we'll do that. And so if you didn't get a chance to catch us live, you can still watch the replays as they're on social media, but we'll also put it on Move Crush Count as well. So I want to thank you again for sharing with us.
It's been a pleasure.
I want to thank the MCC Nation for joining us for an outstanding interview, how you can live a life of purpose and personal power. I'm going to invite you to check out movecrushcount.com and the Unbreakable one. That's the Unbreakable.1, correct?
That's right, yes.
Hold on. Let me put this at the bottom of the screen because I want to make sure. There we go. The Unbreakable.1 today. And that way you can... you'll get more information on how you can succeed by improving your mental well-being. So make sure you follow us, Move Crush Count, and subscribe to the Move Crush Count podcast at movecrushcount.com, as well as you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We've got LinkedIn and Facebook groups. Jay, I'm going to ask you to join our Facebook group because hopefully some people will pop in some questions there and you can answer as well. I'll get you an invite to that.
It will be my pleasure.
Yeah, I'll email you right after here and make sure you get that link. And then, so make sure you guys do that. Share this episode. And one reason you want to share it is because I think the message here is such an important topic. I want you to share this. We don't spend a dime promoting the show. So all of it comes organically. So share it with your friends, your colleagues, your family. Today's interview was sponsored by J&L Marketing. J&L is a digital and direct marketing agency that delivers results by helping you outsmart your toughest competitors so you don't have to outspend them. I'm going to give you something free right now that's going to help you outsmart your toughest competitors. So one way to do that is to know what they're advertising. And more specifically, more importantly, you need to know which offers in terms of their ads are actually working and stealing market share from you, right? So where are your biggest opportunities to get that back and to vault ahead? So if you're interested in getting all this information without having to do the work or for paying for it, I can save you a ton of hours and a lot of money. Message me on Instagram and or LinkedIn, and I'll send you this competitive insights report, and it'll give you actionable, tactical, and timely digital marketing tips that you're going to need to move the crowd, crush your competition, and count the money. Everybody have a great day, and thanks again for joining us on Move, Crush, Count.
Thank you.